Welcome back, YouTube. I'm Edwin.
And I'm Joseph.
And this is
Edwin and Joseph Talks.
So, this subject was actually handed to us by one of our viewers.
Mm-hmm.
I won't mention names just in case.
She knows who she is.
Yeah. So, this is actually about the Dyatlov Pass. For many of you who don't know about the Dyatlov Pass, back in between February 1st and 2nd of 1959, there was actually 10 hikers that...
Question?
Yeah.
Where is the Dyatlov Pass?
Well, I was getting to that, but since you want to cut into it, this took place in the part of... It was back when Russia was still the Soviet Union. So it was kind of... If I understand right, the pass was kind of in between like Soviet Union, Soviet Ukraine area.
Okay. Communists.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, just keep going. That has nothing to do with this, sorry.
Commies, man. So anyways, like I was saying, between February 1st and 2nd of 1959, 10 hikers headed out on a trail. They were all from the Ural Polytechnical Institute. I forget what exactly they were going out on this hike for. I know it had something to do with their studies or something like that. I just forget what it was. But 10 of them headed out. And that same day that they headed out, one of them actually ended up heading back because he started feeling really ill. So I think they were like almost halfway. And he was just like, I can't, whatever. So he ended up heading back. Well, after he ended up going, the other 9 decided, well, we'll just keep heading out. So they kept going and climbing up, and I think it was pretty late at night. Well, not late, but they're up in the mountains. It's already getting dark. It was around like 7 or 8 their time. They end up getting to what is now known as the Dyatlov Pass. Before it was Dyatlov Pass, it was called the Kolatsikol slope, and that's where they ended up making their camp, and they renamed it the Dyatlov Pass after the group's leader, Igor Dyatlov. Now, when they first got to camp, everything was pretty chill, everything was normal. They set up camp, they were sitting there making, they ate dinner and hung out or whatever. Well, something happened in the middle of the night, which is very, I want to say, I guess, debated as to what happened. So in the middle of the night, now you got to remember, they're up on the mountains, they're up on this slope, and they're pretty close to the peak. They weren't that far from the peak of where they were going. But it's like there's heavy snowfall. It's, sub-zero temperatures. Like, it's cold as heck up there. And something happened in the middle of the night to cause them to panic and freak out. And it was to the point where they ended up cutting their way out of their tent. So it's not like they just got out and walked out. They sliced their way out of the tent. And they ended up finding tracks and stuff where you can tell like they left, and the reports that from the investigation says that they left at their own accord. Like, they weren't dragged or anything. You can see the footprints, but they all went in different directions. They ended up dying, all 9 of them, and when they were found, first of all, they weren't found that far from the camp. Like, it's not like they got that far. They were all found. They were all severely underdressed for the weather. I'm talking about some of them were just in their underwear. Some of them had their underwear in like a very thin undershirt. But you can tell, like, whatever made them leave, they were in a hurry. Mm-hmm. 6 of them were determined to have died from hypothermia, which makes sense because of the climate. And then there was 3 of them that ended up being found. One of them had a fracture to the skull. 2 of them had chest fractures. And another one, they found her with her eyes gouged out and her tongue missing. One of them, it should be noted, like, the tracks did end at a tree, so it looked like, at least from what they came up with in the investigation, it looked like he might have tried to climb the tree to get away from something and ended up falling. That could explain maybe his fractures. But on one of them, there was, on their clothing, there was a heavy amount of radiation on it too. So that's kind of weird, because if you look at their investigation for the deaths, their their official conclusion came as an uncompelling force. That's what was ruled as their cause of death. A lot of the theories that surround it are things like animal attacks, infrasound panic, military involvement, and there's also UFOs that are thought to be a part of it. And the one that's kind of not sensible to us is the Yeti.
Mm-hmm.
They were attacked by a Yeti. So the animal attack, a lot of people assume that because of the eyes and the tongue, but at the same time, like, I mean, be it a bear or a wolf or whatever, I've never known it to just gouge out some eyes and a tongue, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Had it been an animal attack, I see more like bite marks and pieces of flesh missing and stuff like that. The infrasound panic kind of makes sense if it was military involved, because one of the suspicions out there was, I guess there were reports of like military testing going on up there and stuff. So either the military didn't know they were there, or maybe saw them as guinea pigs to test whatever they were testing. And then when you think about the radiation, now it is noted that it, like I said, the military could have been a huge thing with the radiation too, but like I mentioned earlier, UFOs were also like a theory as to what happened. So, I mean, what are your thoughts with all this?
Well, I have actually, as you were talking, came up with a lot of questions. The first guy that left, did they ever test him for radiation?
No, he was the one. He was the one that took off. That just cut his way out. Oh, you're talking about the guy that was sick?
Yeah, the very first guy.
No, they didn't do any testings on that with him because, as far as they knew, he was just not feeling good, and that's all he said. He just said he wasn't feeling good, and I guess he wasn't feeling good when they took off, and by the time they reached halfway, he just couldn't do it no more. But as from everything I read, I don't remember them testing him for any kind of radiation.
Now the three that had the radiation,
it was only one.
Only one.
Three of them had the physical trauma. Two of them had fractures. One had her eyes and tongue missing. But on one of them, they found the high levels of radiation.
Did it say which one had the radiation?
No, it didn't mention which one. All it said was on one of them, the clothing had like a high level of radiation. So that's where all this is confusing the people. That's where all these theories just kind of start flying around because, like, when they found these bodies and stuff, like, they didn't know what happened, and then they started doing all these tests, and that's where the radiation came out.
I know our viewer that told us about this because I had never heard of it, and I think you had. I had
seen something on it a while ago, but I completely forgot about it until she mentioned it.
She had said that basically the government there posted for about a year, I think she said for about a year that nobody could go up there around the area. And also that they had a thing about what to do if you came in contact with a Yeti.
Yeah, they did.
Then it disappeared after that year, like it never happened. So that was kind of weird. But we were talking just off camera, and I was like, that to me the first thing that comes to my mind is like UFO or aliens. I mean, I'm not trying to go there just because we do Alien Mondays and stuff. The reason why is there was really no tracks. There was no. If there was a Yeti, you would see tracks.
Well, yeah, you would see tracks that aren't human.
I mean, you would see it in the snow. You would see a physical, like they were going out of the tent. A Yeti would be trying to get into the tent. It's just not going to unzip a tent and climb in.
Unless he's really friendly.
Right? Like a Jack Lynx Yeti, maybe. I don't know. But, and you were telling me in the reports that the eyes were removed gouged out.
It said gouged out, like somebody went in there and pulled them out.
And then the tongue was, you said, cleanly cut.
It was a clean cut. Like, it's not, that's what, like, everybody assumed it was animal attacks because of that. But at the same time, like, if a bear goes to eat you, or a wolf or whatever, it's not going to sit there and grab a knife and just kind of go.
Yeah.
It's going to just rip your, you're going to be missing half of your face.
They're not using a knife. There's never going to be clean cuts
it's
like
not
that.
Yogi.
And that's what made me think maybe UFO, like, were they harvesting an organ to do some testing on? But, even then, if the military was doing testing, a person had radiation on them, could their mental state have went? And what I'm thinking is, if one of them's mental state had went and started attacking some of them,
you know what? That's never actually been thrown out there as a theory.
This is just what,
and that
what
would,
I'm thinking.
That would go
of.
hand in hand with the infrared sound, like panic, like
Possibly, and it could be, it's like a 50-50 to me, where you have military or even a UFO thing, where there was something going on that had caused one of them to go in an unstable mental state, started attacking some of them. Might even cause the other ones to act irrationally. I mean, if it's Sub-Zero out there, you're not going to take your clothes off for any reason.
The weirdest part about it too is, like, remember I said, they left the tent and you can see the footprints, and that's why they called it, they left of their own accord. It wasn't like the footprints were scattered like they were running. It was in a straight line. Like, you can see the path they went through, and the footprints were good. And then eventually, with the snowfall, the further out they went, they started getting dusted off with the snow. But the footprints weren't like erratic and scattered like they were running crazy. It's just like they left the tent and went in their own separate ways. That's the weird part too. So, I mean, this is like one of the weirdest, I guess you can call it a murder that's ever gone, because it's like you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And with all these theories flying around, I mean, you can almost attach any theory to any one of it.
You can. It's not something that we're ever just going to be like, oh, hey, we got the proof right here. This is what happened. I don't think it would ever be a situation like that.
Now, even with the Yeti thing coming out, I think that's the only one we can really, I guess, necessarily like debunk. Just because, I mean, like you said, even if it was a bear and not a Yeti, it's gonna rip its way in.
We've kind of talked about this before. Like, I personally don't really believe in like the Bigfoot stuff or Yetis and stuff like that. I don't. And even if there is one, I highly doubt.
It's not gonna ring a doorbell to get in. It's gonna.
Yeah, it'd be more. I would probably look more like a bear attack, and there wouldn't be radiation.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense with a Yeti or even an animal. With the military and the UFO possibilities,
yeah,
that does kind of go together. But
there's a story that it was like, I think on YouTube, about a case, and I believe it was in Russia, and they had some prisoners, and they gave them a gas that would keep them up. But I want to say that this test was supposed to be done throughout a whole month. But what happened was the prisoners went silent, and they're like, what's going on? And then they did a check on them, and they started ripping out pieces of their flesh, and one of them had ripped his own tongue out and stuff like that. And the only thing that they can get on is they must keep awake. That kind of makes me think of their mentality of what had happened, but that was a whole different scenario.
Well, I mean, depending on the timeline, because we don't know the timeline for that, right?
Well, I mean, that, like I said, that was a whole different, that was an enclosed room that...
Well, yeah, but, I mean, one of the theories is military involvement. So if they were up there and saw this, group of campers, That's a possibility. They could have just, oh, well, here.
I mean, possibly where they could have done a test where. I mean, I don't know.
It's just, I mean, this is, like I said, I had seen something on this, the Dyatlov Pass. It's been years, but you know, when she mentioned it to us and I started researching it and actually looking into stuff, like it's actually kind of interesting just because of how much happened and how little is known. I mean, for the official death report to say uncompelling forces, like that can mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we don't. It's pretty much them saying like, yeah, we don't know what happened. These guys died and we can't figure it out.
Well, I mean, from my knowledge, the only thing I can think of is either some sort of UFOs. I'm gonna even slash paranormal type activity to government. It's a 50-50 to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we can safely rule out the Yeti, definitely, and even the animal attacks. Like, I mean, like I said, you can compare a bear and Yeti attack, and it's going to be the same thing. Something ripped its way in there.
Yeah, you'd see the tents being ripped into. You'd see more blood. There'd be more bodies, probably.
One of them would have at least not been able to make it out of that campsite.
Right.
They all left it, you know?
There would be no radiation.
So, yeah, this was it was a fun subject because it's not something we've covered or even thought about it.
I'm still thinking about this. If you have effects of hypothermia, I wonder how that affects your mind. I don't know if you become delusional and violent.
I mean, I lived in Kentucky for about 10 years. I moved out of here when I was 17, lived out there for 10 years. And I've experienced like 0 and below 0.
Oh, I have too.
And I can see how it can drive somebody crazy, but I mean, you would really have to hate the cold.
It doesn't explain the one person that had radiation though.
That's the one that's kind of throwing everything off. That, and honestly, I mean, the girl who got her eyes gouged out and tongue ripped off, like we said, it was clean cut. So it's not like something ate her tongue out, or even if you would have ripped the tongue out, it's gonna show that it was ripped out.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a clean cut.
And I think it said that she was like, you can tell there was like damages around her lip, but it wasn't like cut damages. It was just like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but I know for the cut on the tongue, it said that it was cleanly done.
The report, was there any knives or anything they found? Or?
No, they didn't find any kind of weapons or nothing.
Huh.
And then think about this too. So military involvement, like we said, that could explain the radiation and stuff, but no other footprints were found. It was just the footprints of the hikers that spread out and took off.
And that's why I think UFO on that one.
We're not trying to be biased here with the UFO thing. It's just
this
is us trying to piece it together for ourselves.
So, I think with this one, we're going to close this one out. What do you guys think, honestly? It's just a weird case that we found fascinating. Hit us in the comments. What do you think?
To the viewer who sent this to us, thank you.
Yeah,
it was fun. If we missed anything that I know when you got a hold of us, you told us about you jotting down notes and stuff yourself. If there is anything we missed that we didn't cover, let us know. We'll do a small, come back to this video and throw out any other information that might help anybody. But let us know what you guys think happened. Piece it together, use all the theories and kind of come up with your own, and just let us know what you think happened.
Yeah, definitely comment on this one, subscribe, share it out, and with that,
we'll
have a good day or night. Yeah, thank you.